Have you noticed this in your landscape this year? Plants got severely damaged, or there was a lot of dieback from the winter of 2024, 2025. I just want to take a few minutes to explain what happened and then what we can do about it. This is a rhododendron that's been in the ground here at Weston Nurseries in Hopkinton for probably 20 years. This looks like really bad right now, this rhododendron. We're seeing this all over the eastern part of Massachusetts, and I think New England in general has seen severe dieback like this with rhododendrons, with hollies, and with some needled evergreens like arborvitaes this year. I haven't seen anything this bad in at least 10 or 15 years. What happened to cause this was the ground was frozen down pretty deep this winter. There wasn't a lot of snow cover, and at the same time it got really cold. When I say deep, probably frost was down at least a foot. And then what happened, I think in late February or early March, it got real warm. Maybe for about a week it got really warm. Rhododendrons really took a beating in particular because their leaves actually curl up in the wintertime and then they uncurl when it gets warm. And when they uncurl, the stomata, or the space between the stomata and the leaves, the little cells in the leaves, actually start to pull up water from the stems and the trunk of the tree, and as the water makes its way up, it evaporates. It's called transpiration. Water was not able to transpire after it was warm for a few days because the ground was still frozen, and it couldn't pull up frozen water, or the water in the frozen ground, to go up and through, and then the leaves start to curl again, and then eventually the bud will die and it will dry up. That'll be the first thing. Then the leaves will dry up, and then it'll work its way down the stem a little bit. It looks like it's dead. What I've seen time and time again is it's not dead. And we're asking all our customers this year who call in about this, it's so prevalent, to give this a little more time to see what the plant looks like probably the end of May, beginning of June. And even right now, you can scratch the bark and see that it's green, but not really. It's even a little moist there. But it's not dead very far down. Even right up here, you can see green, which means there's moisture in there still. So the plant will die at the tip a little bit, but not very far down, and you'll see a new set of leaves emerge out, and you won't even know that this plant was like this come mid-June. So at some point you're going to want to prune it back. You can do that now and prune it back no further than to where you see it scratch green like this, and even though it doesn't look so sightly in the meantime, it'll look a lot different a month from now. So don't rip it out, give it a little more time. And it might be that we're standing here a month from now and I can show you the same plant looking completely different than this, I'm hoping. I'll do what I just told you to do and we'll see where it goes. The other thing I'm going to do, and we're recommending this to our customers, is to help it along a little bit. We were dealing with major drought last year, and so it was kind of a 1-2 punch. The plants were, a lot of them, very dry going into the winter, and even though there's not a lot of moisture in the ground, that frozen ground, and it couldn't pull up the moisture that was in there on top of being dry and a little stress going into winter. So what you can do now is take a 5-gallon bucket and put a 1/4 cup of Neptune's Harvest. It's a fish and kelp Neptune's Harvest, and a 1/4 cup of our Biotone plant starter, which will sort of dissolve in there. It's little prills of fertilizer, and even if it doesn't dissolve all the way, that's fine. But stir it around and pour it, dig a little contained area around the trunk of the tree. And you want to put about 5 gallons down on a tree, 3 gallons down on a shrub, and 1 gallon down on a perennial. Let that water, that fertilizer mixed water, sink down, and that will give it a little more nutrients to help it along this spring as well. This is a Japanese holly in our train garden display right behind our garden center in Hopkinton that's been in the ground for 30 years and obviously done very well. So this event that we had this winter, this ground frozen and the plants getting desiccated, was kind of a once a quarter century type event in my mind. When you see a plant that's mature like this really get knocked back, this thing looks like it's dead. You know it's an unusual winter that we had. So I'm going to do the same thing with this Coronata holly, or Japanese holly. I can see the leaves are brown all the way down into the inside here. You do see a little bit of green, which is hopeful. I can see it scratches green, not as green up this high. So it's probably got the ability to survive if we prune it back pretty substantially, probably about 8 to 10 inches prune back, and let's see if it pushes out again. You want to give the hollies, just like the rhododendrons, plenty of time to see if they can respond to their setback that they had this winter. this is what happened this year. It's not that the plant was bad, it's that the weather was extreme. So kind of stinks. You're dealing with living things in this business, and we're trying to work with our customers as best as we can. Again, with that fertilizer formula, let's prune them back. Let's see how they do. Give it a little more time. Sometimes the plant's just never going to look as good as it once did, and we understand that. We're going to work with our customers to replace those things. But this was an extreme winter, and we hope everybody, our customers in particular, acknowledges that. Just look around, you'll see. You know, one question I'd be asking if I lost my Japanese holly like this is, why didn't this plant, this cryptomeria here, looks perfect, or why didn't this Chamaecyparis behind me over here, or this spruce down here, have the same type of setback? And it is true that some of the broadleaf evergreens are more susceptible to this kind of quarter-century event that we just had, and you're going to see dieback or even death of the plant. People love them. They're the foundation plants, boxwoods, Japanese hollies, the small green leaves. But there is probably a little more risk with these than there are with other types of plants. Customers have asked me, what's a little tougher of a plant since this did happen to these Japanese hollies and maybe a few boxwoods? Are there better choices? But definitely I'd go with a Pieris or Andromeda. They seem to be more resilient for a broadleaf evergreen than just about anything that I've observed. I've seen them get knocked back a little bit. But like a rhododendron, they would come back if they did, more likely to come back. They're also deer resistant, and we have so many deer here in eastern Massachusetts, so that might be a good choice. We've stocked up on a lot of them for that reason this year. They're a pretty plant. They have attractive red new growth or orange new growth. They flower in April, and they're an evergreen year-round, and the deer don't like to eat them. So that might be a good solution. Otherwise, maybe an evergreen like a spruce, like you see right here in front of me. This is a bird's nest spruce that's very hardy as well. Needs more sun than the Pieris or the Andromeda does. So again, the broadleaf evergreens that tolerate the shade, I'd push you toward maybe a mountain laurel as well, but definitely a Pieris or Andromeda.